And thank you to the other members for allowing me this. Fracking will also be a big issue for rural Ireland and rural communities, and I do apologise in advance, Paddy, because that's the debate I have to go into in the Seanad to speak to that. At the outset, I want to absolutely thank you. Thank you for your courage in what you have done in the past number of months, and I don't underestimate how difficult it was for you to do that. You already referred to your long-standing relationship with the former Taoiseach. So for somebody like you to come out and to say these things because they were so important for rural Ireland and for the west of Ireland, I think is huge. And I think it speaks to all of what we are trying to do here and what we have been trying to do for years. I also want to acknowledge the work of the Westem Development Commission and under yourself as chairperson. And all of the reports, the strategic framework that you have provided over the years, and all of that, because I think that has all served to unite communities together and to try to bring about a united response to the huge problem we have. And I think going through and examining your submission from today, I think you hit some key things in this. But I want to acknowledge what you have already achieved and what the Western Development Commission have achieved. Indeed, I want to acknowledge what you have done outside the Western Development Commission as well as your foundation of the GMIT with others and the Mayo campus of the GMIT, and what is happening with that and the threats that are there as well at the moment, and the battle that's on there to try and develop that in the way that it should. And I know you've always been a positive person and always look for opportunity and look to bring people together to enhance that opportunity for rural Ireland. A couple of things that you have said. Your ambition was not matched with either political or at administrative level, and I think that hits the nail on the head. You said that you were naive. I wouldn't say that you were naive. I would say that you are always ambitious for rural Ireland, as I would like to think I am myself. But naive, there's a difference, I think, between being ambitious and being naive. You refer to the relating to governance, the concentration on governance, and I suppose I would ask you the first question in terms of, do you think that the institutionalised thinking of some of our departments and representatives even, is it a deterrent to tackling what's really happening in rural Ireland? Maybe like just will we answer one at a time?
Back and forth if you like for the rest of the
Yeah, I think well, it's a personal opinion, and that's all it is. And I have absolutely, I don't have a semblance of doubt that it is a deterrent and a real negative. I'm not sure how that can be dealt with. It goes on it's probably gone on since the state was formed, but for some strange reason, at rural affairs level, it's very dominant. Okay. I don't want to be knocking all the time, and it's so often that I'm doing this. I do believe that there's a huge need to reduce the level of bureaucracy in this particular area. I feel that most communities are anxious to help in solving their own problems. And a minor suggestion for you to think about would be that a fund would be set up to make a certain amount of money available to any community that has a reasonably coherent plan, providing they could match it with the same amount of money themselves, with absolutely no strings attached to it. And almost a condition that they wouldn't become involved in bureaucratic activity. And that further monies to that community or communities would only be made available on the basis of achievement. Now, it may be too simple, but I honestly think that we all the time hear about bottom up, but I can tell you that at the bottom there isn't much chance of getting up that ladder.
I know that from working in years in community development myself as well, and I think what you're trying to say is around there's flexibility needed in the approach to be able to adapt directly to the needs of each community. And that's the only way we can empower communities and build capacity within communities, is allowing them to have that bit of flexibility. Because if you contrast that to the problems that you experienced in trying to change the expenditure, the 2 million from capital to current expenditure, if you had gone out and bought something that maybe wasn't all that necessary, or certainly wasn't a priority, but it fitted under the capital heading, then that would have been okay. But and I suppose the question around that is, do you believe that there are massive amounts of money wasted because of the restrictions on how the money is spent, and that maybe items, huge capital items even, are purchased, and it's all coming out of the taxpayers and the citizens' public purse, if you like?
Quite honestly, Senator, I don't feel qualified to confirm or deny that, but I do know there's far too much energy and time taken up by people who are prepared to work voluntarily because having to deal with bureaucracy.
Okay. I need to just acknowledge what you were saying in terms of unemployment and the catastrophic nature of what's happening in rural Ireland and in the West in particular, without proper targeted investment. And we saw some of the figures released last week in terms of even places like Ardnaree in Ballina, 31.4%. In my own area in Binghamstown, 29.9%, and then in Ballina urban area, 27.7%. Yet the narrative and the government policy...
Sorry, 20% of what?
Of unemployment.
Oh, right, sorry,
unemployment. I think the crux of the problem is that the narrative and government policy is being framed by the fact that we have almost full employment. And the disparity then from where the communities that we come from is not being addressed. And I think you referred to it here. There isn't even an acknowledgement of the extent of the problem. And until we get an acknowledgement of it, we cannot hope to find real sustainable solutions to it. I suppose I'm just asking, would you agree with that?
I would entirely, yes.
Right. Okay. I need to ask you, Leader, the point you brought up about Leader, I think, is a huge problem in terms of the bureaucracy around the new programme and how it's been delivered. Do you think it was a mistake to bring the Leader under the National Rural Development Programme under the administration of the local authorities? Should it have been left to the...
Again, Senator, I don't know the answer to that. I used that quotation because I was checking with people involved in community work and rural affairs. I had no connection at all with Leader, so it's kind of evidence to support my case from somebody who has been working through Leader.
Well, I can say
personally, I don't know.
Yeah, I can say it, having met with the rural groups. There's now 18 different stages to get approval of a project. That is taking the decision-making out of the local communities, again, going through making it even more bureaucratic all of the time. And I have deep concerns in the depreciation of the value of the Leader programme this time around. I think there's been major mistakes made there, but I will address that under another forum as well. I have to ask you, in terms of one of the biggest assets I suppose we've had in the West would be the Corrib gas project. And it pains me to see these levels of unemployment and the high immigration, and yet to see that because of government policy, and I think it was the government before the last government, the terms that are given where oil companies such, I'm not going to mention the company, but everybody knows who it is, but oil companies in general doing exploration in Ireland are giving tax write-offs for any costs that they have from all over the world. Surely that needs to be changed. Maybe just to...
As a matter of fact, the only tax write-off, and there's an Oireachtas Committee report that proves this, and it was agreed by all parties, including Sinn Féin, the only tax write-off that they can set against their tax liability here is costs associated with the development of Corrib. It's not worldwide.
And could I just add to that? On public record is the former managing director of the company, which says that they wouldn't envisage paying tax for, and this is the way he said it, 20, maybe 25 years, when he was asked the question by RTE. and that is on public record. So I suppose that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, just that you have 1 minute just remaining.
Right, okay, thank you. I would just to see there in terms of opportunities and the benefit to the community, we now have to stand by and watch the gas, our own natural resources, being drained out of the community that desperately needs it, and we don't have the benefits from it. I just think it's a missed opportunity. And
well, the Corrib gas is way above my pay and was terribly divisive in our community.
Yes. And
I wouldn't wish to express an opinion.
Yeah, and finally, I would just ask you maybe the SDZ on Knock Airport, and that being announced, and I would certainly welcome that, as I'm sure you would yourself. What do you think needs to happen next on that?
Well, I hope it's more than an announcement. Will that do?
Yeah.
We've had a lot of those.
Yes, we have indeed, and I think it needs to be underpinned, obviously, by an investment there to.
Knock Airport is one of the great successes of rural Ireland, and I'd love to see it growing more. Yeah. And the WDC have been very supportive of it. Have invested there.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to finish up on that. I want to thank you again. I hope that you stay involved in the development of the West and of rural Ireland. Because I think what you have to offer into the future as well, we have to have hope. We have a cabinet minister from Mayo around the table now. He certainly has to deliver. I'm sure you will have, as well as I have, documented all the promises that he has made over the years. It is now time to deliver. We have, we're told that, well, we are one of the richest countries in Europe, and that our public finances are in order and everything else, and it is time for us to have share in the West, but for the realisation above all, the realisation of government, and whoever the next government is going to be, of the dire issues and problems that need to be solved in the west of Ireland. But thank you very much.
Thanks,